Everyone is a hero from their own point of view, going through life, encountering a series of struggles, challenges, and hardships, all the while trying to reconcile their values against the oppressive compromises of living. But in the end, you take your hits and you keep standing. That's the trick. And in all this, there is that Sisyphusian moment when you become all too self-aware of the tedium and repetition of life, and you look for a means to break away. And what better way is there than to travel and to eat? This was the vein of inspiration that Anthony Bourdain mined for his work. And within that body of work, within his writing, his television shows, is some excellent advice for writers and for those of us who journal. So join me today, won't you, as I reveal the journaling secrets of Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain was born June 25th, 1956, and where else? New York City. He was an American chef and author who found his greatest fame as a travel documentarian. This came after years of finding and refining his voice. First, in his first book, Kitchen Confidential, that was published in 2000, based on an article he had written in The New Yorker a few years before. That voice would become familiar to millions and millions of people who would tune in to watch his shows, first on the Travel Channel and then CNN. No reservations and parts unknown. He explored culture and connection through the commonality of sharing a meal with someone. The universal language of food was present in everything Anthony Bourdain did. And sadly, that voice would be silenced on June 8th, 2018, when Anthony Bourdain passed away, perhaps as he was destined to, on the road, in a quiet hotel room in France. And that voice would be quiet forever. Now, I think one of the saddest things is that Anthony Bourdain was this role model for many people, and it was based on becoming more connected with different cultures, with learning as much as you can about the world, with trying different things, being experimental, trying a different food, embracing awkwardness, and a certain lens of cultured cool. And I feel that a lot has been lost when we lose that kind of ideal, when we no longer seek to make our lives more open, more interesting, and more filled with the flavors of food and culture. Plus, he just had an original take on everything, not the least of which journaling and writing. Looking back on his work now, some of it just seems so poignant, as if it were all leading to the end. In an article for Maxim magazine for 2017, Anthony Bourdain listed moleskin notebooks as one of his travel essentials. So we know he carried them everywhere, and we can safely assume he journaled or at least kept extensive notes of his travels and his food. Now, there was one type of journal that Anthony Bourdain kept that I will leave up to you whether or not you want to Google it, but let's just say it doesn't fall under the purview of this channel. I bring 3 or 4. Any writing I do quickly by hand first, and then as a function of inputting it into the laptop. I edit as I copy it in. That process works for me. From this, we can get an idea of the way he journaled, the way he thought. It was a certain restless, frenetic energy, getting the words down on paper first, and then editing them as he put it into his laptop to write scripts and articles. Really not too different from how I do things. Okay, now let's get a little bit more specific and reveal some of Anthony Bourdain's journaling secrets. Anthony Bourdain's first secret that he reveals to us is find your voice. I'm a pretty decent writer. It comes easy for me. I don't agonize over sentences. I write like I talk. Anthony Bourdain developed his voice after years of trial and error, after finding his own personal way of expressing himself with confidence and without hesitation. Whenever he spoke, you had a sense that everything he said was flavored with his life experience. There was a sort of weariness to it, but it was always tinged with hope, as if he were moving to a better tomorrow, but one that was very far in the distance. He was the snarky street kid all grown up. He was sharp, unedited, and utterly real. And I think one of the great things about Anthony Bourdain is he used language as a way to connect with people, not as a way to push them away. He wasn't overly impressed with himself. He was a man looking for friends. So the first secret from Anthony Bourdain that we can bring into our journaling is to write like you talk. Use your journal as if you are telling a story to one of your close friends over a beer, over a bowl of pho, or some other great food that you might share with someone. And just simply recount your experiences, your thoughts, your fears, whatever it is that you want to get on paper. But don't be too heavy on the edit. Just tell the story in a breezy way, in your own vernacular. Let your pen move at the pace of your thoughts, and don't worry too much about sentence structure or grammar. I mean, I have pages of things in my journal that are pretty much just linked by commas and semicolons. I think really the only thing you should worry about is honesty. Journaling is not a performance. It's a personal experience where you're putting your thoughts, your experiences, whatever happened, down on the page in an honest and accurate way. A journal is very much a mirror of who you are and who you are becoming. And once you find your personal voice, I think the challenge then is to keep moving with it, to keep rolling. And that brings us into Anthony Bourdain's second journaling secret. I would call Anthony Bourdain's second secret, keep moving forward. I just do the best I can and write something interesting, to tell stories in an interesting way and move forward from there. Now, one thing really interesting about this is it reminds me a little bit of Ernest Hemingway's famous quote, write the truest sentence you know, and then go on from there. So hearing it reiterated from another master of his craft just kind of gives you the value of a statement like that. It's certainly something that I've used in my own work. But how does it translate to journaling? Let me tell you. Anthony Bourdain lived this life in constant motion, always moving from place to place, always setting up shop in a new country, meeting new people, having different foods. But you got the sense that he wasn't running from responsibility or life, but actually running towards something, some sort of ideal that he held in his head very dearly. He thought, he wrote, he moved on. So I think the lesson in journaling is don't dwell too much on your failures or really much of what you've done in the past. You've committed it to paper, you've written it down, you had your adventure, it's over. Move on, get on to the next thing, the next stage in your life, the next stage of your becoming. And within your journaling session, keep writing. Don't get distracted. Get your thoughts out before they fade away. Keep your pen moving. Glide across the page at the speed of your thoughts. Let your pen keep pace with the things that you feel you need to get onto the page. It's so easy to get distracted in any room. So keep moving, but be focused on what you're doing. You see, writing is momentum. It thrives on motion. Each word connects, each sentence, each paragraph. They get woven together into a compelling story or argument. It resolves, and then you start again. And to keep that momentum alive, you need to silence your inner critic. And this leads us to the next secret of Anthony Bourdain's writing and journaling. I call this one write fast, don't lose yourself in the edit. I write quickly with a sense of urgency. I don't edit myself out of existence. Don't edit yourself out of existence. That says it all. How often do you start to write and your self-consciousness or your inner critic that sort of is a bit of a negative voice in your mind stops the flow of your creative writing and expression? How often does that happen? I guess the advice here is don't be your worst enemy. Try to keep your inner critic in check by writing honestly, openly, and continuously when you're sitting down to journal. You see, if you write too carefully, you erase what's real. It needs to be raw, unedited, without self-consciousness. Think about the lines that you're most afraid to put down on paper, the ones you think are too sentimental perhaps, too trite, too honest, too revealing maybe. That's the real stuff. That's the essence of what you need to get down onto the paper. If you're feeling slightly uncomfortable about it, that means it's very close to the truth. That makes it invaluable. So try to push through your hesitations and trepidations. And one way to do this is to write fast. Write fast before your inner critic and your hesitation can catch up with what you're doing. Anthony Bourdain wrote with a confidence and with a sense of urgency, and I suggest you give that a try as well. After all, you are the foremost authority on your own opinions and life experiences. So get it all down on paper and you can reshape it later if you wish. And once the words start flowing, then you have some space to experiment and take some chances. And this leads me to Anthony Bourdain's next journaling secret. Experiment always. Without experimentation, a willingness to ask questions and try new things, we shall surely become static, repetitive, and moribund. To Anthony Bourdain, repetition was death. He wanted to try everything, see everything, taste everything, experience everything. Now, without changing your life to a peripatetic lifestyle, you can do this within the confines of your journal. You can question everything. You can taste everything and write about the experience. You can make your journal a repository for the sensual experience of you interacting with your senses and the world around you as you learn and try new things. See, you can bring that sense of curiosity into your journal, and you can try different ways of journaling. You can just put down random words and see how you feel about them. You could make lists, endless lists. I make so many lists in my journals. You can write phrases, link them together. You can pick a random word and then see how you feel about it. You can do these things that shock your mind into approaching what you know and see every day in a unique and interesting way. I'm often shocking myself to reevaluate my surroundings, recontextualize them, and to find the resonance and beauty in every moment, because we only have so many. And why not spend those in a sense of unvarnished amazement? Another thing you can do is write in weird places. I am personally famous for this. Write on a train, write on a cafe. If you're up in the middle of the night, light a candle somewhere, write a little. see places in a different way, experience them, get those thoughts down on the page when they're raw, when they're happening. It's not a bad idea to just carry a pocket journal in your back pocket for taking notes. Consider treating your journal like a laboratory rather than as a history book of your life. Experiment, shift things around, make it interesting. And I suppose with all of that, you can also sort of look at yourself from different perspectives. Perhaps try writing about yourself from your partner's point of view. It might help you to see yourself in relation to those who you are closest to. Look at your journal, take the best of it, and keep moving forward. And that openness demands humility. And that takes us to Anthony Bourdain's next journaling secret. Stay humble, stay curious. Maybe that's enlightenment enough to know that there is no final resting place of the mind. Perhaps wisdom is realizing how small I am and unwise, and how far I have yet to go. Even at the peak of his celebrity and the powers of his writing, Anthony Bourdain carried his own sense of humility like armor. It was a way to keep himself in check. And I think that traveling and writing just reminded him constantly of how much there is to know. I think your journal should not be a place where you're proving how smart you are to yourself or how wise you are, but a place where you honestly admit to yourself how much you don't know, how much you have yet to see. It helps to keep your joy, your sense of adventure, your sense of discovery alive. It's a way of really immersing yourself in that lust for knowledge, for adventure, for experience. Not for self-congratulatory exercises in how amazing you are. That would get very repetitive and strange quickly. Write your doubts. Write your mistakes. Perhaps solve them. Think of ways you could have handled them differently. I mean, I'm a big proponent of celebrating your mistakes. It's a sign that you're growing, that you're changing. Every blank page in a journal or a notebook is a challenge to learn something new. And part of staying humble is admitting when you're wrong, and this leads us to Anthony Bourdain's next journaling secret. Entertain being wrong. I always entertain the notion that I'm wrong, or that I'll have to revise my opinion. Anthony Bourdain was never afraid to revise his opinion very publicly, very truthfully, very painfully, I'm sure, for him. It's a good lesson to learn. It's a strong, confident person that can admit when they're wrong, that can apologize and make amends, that can take in new information, revise their opinions, change the way they feel about the world or something within it. Dogmatic thinking makes us stagnant, makes us small, makes us closed off from the world and even from those we love. And I think as you travel, you might go into a place with some preconceived notions and be completely liberated from them. And I think this is such a great mental exercise to see how you can have assumptions that are completely wrong, and yet it's the same sort of observation, but in a different context. This is transformative. You see that sometimes what we think is not necessarily what is. And it's also fantastic to capture this in your journal while you go, while it's happening. This way your journal reflects your personal evolution. And in this way, your journal is less of a monument of who you were and more of a record of who you are becoming. And if your entries contradict each other, that's a sign that you are changing, that you are transforming, that you are questioning things. Contradictions are good. They lead to amazing discoveries. And this leads us to Anthony Bourdain's perhaps greatest revelation that can help us in journaling, can help us in writing, and can help us in life. And that is, tell it all. I'm simply not going to deceive anybody about the life as I've seen it. It's all here. the good, the bad, and the ugly. I love the allusion to Sergio Leone there. It's sort of that coolness that Anthony Bourdain had in his speech and his writing. But I think the biggest key here, and something that we can use in our journaling and our writing, is radical honesty. And I don't mean TMI. You know, there's personal things that you can remain personal. But I think an honest document of your struggles, of your challenges, of how much it hurts when you don't succeed in what you're striving for. Your insecurities about how you wish you knew things or how you wish you had done different things in your life. These are the things that make you real. These are the connections that people can identify with. When you can be that open with yourself in your journal, you become that way facing the world a bit more. And there's nothing wrong with sharing a bit of humanity with another person, and one of the best ways to do that is through writing. I think it's good to show both the bruises and the beauty of life in equal measure. So in your journal, write it all. Your love, your rage, your disappointment, your striving, your amazement. Get the raw emotions down on the page. I honestly believe that when you write the truth, you reclaim it. It becomes yours, and you have a much more firm place in the world and a much more commanding presence within it. You at least understand the one thing that you can experiment on and know as well as anything, and that is yourself. I've said it earlier, you are the foremost authority on your own opinions and your own interactions with the world. So a censored journal is really a story that's half finished. Perfection is a bit boring. Honesty endures. Anthony Bourdain didn't write for his legacy. He wrote because he had to. He was compelled. He had to put his ideas down on paper in a creative way. And through this, he made amazing connections with millions of people who listened to him, who watched him, who read him. Anthony Bourdain understood that writing is how we make sense of being alive. So tonight, take a page from his book. Write quickly, write honestly, perhaps write a little foolishly. Don't worry if you do something that you later regret. That's how we all learn. And most of all, write the world the way you see it, without editing yourself, without hesitation, without fear. Because, my friends, if you really think about it, this is where the story begins. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments what you think of the video and what you think of Anthony Bourdain and his work. I'd appreciate it. Also, please like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on this journey. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, membership is available. We have a pen pal group for Illuminati and Cognoscenti members, so you can share some of that honesty and connection with someone, even in another country. We have a lot of people around the world. I make new videos all the time, and I have a live show as well, so I can promise you we will see each other again very, very soon, further up the road. So take care of yourself, and thanks for watching.